Hi, I'm Eric Summerer, and here's what's coming from the Dice Tower this week.
All right, well, welcome to the Dice Tower news for June 25th to July 1st. We're about halfway done with 2012. Maybe I'll start writing it correctly on my check soon. But let's get right into the news for the board gaming world. First of all, let's start. Eclipse is coming out with an expansion, Rise of the Ancients, with Rare Technologies Alliance, blah, 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 but 3 new player boards and aliens. So that's pretty cool. Also, look at this. Now here's Lords of Waterdeep. This is the inside and the very nice tray. And Lords of Waterdeep comes with cubes. Now cubes aren't the worst thing in the world, but there is now a replacement for the cubes that you can get. It's basically about the same size as a cube, but instead of being this, we have cubes, we have the little wizards. Here you have the clerics, and then we have fighters and rogues. That's so fantastic. So, you know, forget these cubes. We'll get them out of here. And let's see if these other pieces fit in. Why, they do. Hooray! And so this is just another way to buff up the game, getting rid of these cubes and then adding in the new stuff. And once again, we have a way to make a game look better. So you can get these if you'd like to try them out. More pieces. I'll put a link in the notes on the YouTube video here so you can get those if you like those for your game. Dice Tower Convention is sold out! Woo! It's next week! If you missed it, I'm sorry, but we'll try to get a bigger hotel and convention center for next year. Clash of Cultures from Z-Man has been announced. Now that's a big deal because it's designed by Christian Marcuson, who, as you know, designed Merchants and Marauders. Ooh, that sounds interesting. The reprint of Serenissima is coming next month, supposedly, so that's exciting. Mayday has just announced that they will be reprinting Bootleggers with some changes, and that's good. It's good to see some changes to that game, but it's a classic game and one that I still have in my collection. Small World Realms is coming out any day now from Days of Wonder. And Privateer Press is announced a game called Level 7 Escape. Basically, you are a prisoner and you're trying to escape from a prison that has monsters and things. It's kind of a cooperative horror style game. Sounds interesting. And Level 99, which is a company, don't get the levels confused, this one's much deeper. Level 99 has announced a mini game library on Kickstarter. Now, this is an interesting idea because you're putting all these little games together and selling them as one, but it's also fascinating because this is the designer of BattleCon, which is one of my favorite games from 2011. Speaking of BattleCon, one of the things the designer there talked me into doing was adding some seals of excellence kind of sort of thing to game reviews. So you might start seeing these pop up in my reviews. I have a seal of approval, which means I think this is a good, decent game, and I would buy it. I would recommend purchasing it. And then a seal of excellence, which I will hand out less frequently, which means the game rocks, and you should get it if it even remotely interests you. Speaking of reviews, we have a lot of video reviews for you this week. Ryan is talking about the oddly named MIL 1049, which that name itself is going to sell thousands of copies. Robo Derby Express, Micropool, and Fistful of Penguins. Scott Farrow is going to talk about Sunrise City from the guys who made Alien Frontiers. And Bard is going to talk about the dexterity stacking game Animal Upon Animal. I will be reviewing with my kids Take It or Leave It and Scallywags. I'll also be taking a look at the new Red Booster expansion for Conquest of the Killer Buddies and the Conquest of the, well, yeah, another Killer Buddies expansion. And I'll be taking a look at some of the Hiroshima Hex expansions. And then mixing deck building with chess, yes, for the crown. And a cooperative deck building fantasy game, Shadow Rift. And then the very, very fancy Pret-a-Porter game, which is about running a fashion show, something that you can tell I'm an expert at. And now let's talk about the podcast in the Dice Tower Network. Yeah, that's not happening. Not Just Another Gaming Podcast has come out with episode 20, in which they review Quorum, Armageddon, and Revolver, and they talk about hot top games coming out in July. You want to know what's coming up? Check out this podcast. Ludology number 35 is talking about social interactions and the things that games can engender. Why are some games cause us to be competitive and other games we get along? Metal Dog number 42, he interviews Clint Huron, the designer of Robo Derby Express, and Jason Tagmeyer, the designer of the very oddly themed Pixel Lincoln. On Board Games number 84 has on special guests Cody and John, where they talk about the Jones theory, and they also talk about the perfect game collection size. Perfect game collection? This is the proper size of a collection. Ow! Why are these cubes on the floor? Leaving game pieces on the floor should be a criminal offense. Anyhow, Plaid Hat number 50, yeah, 50 episodes. They talk about game mechanics or mechanisms or, you know what, just say whatever you want, and what they add to a game, which ones are good and not. Secret Cabal has come out with episode number 20, where they talk about Origins and do a roundup of the things they did there. Dice Tower number 262, yeah, that's us. We talk about our top 10 lunchtime games. You're sitting at lunch, you want to play some games with your friends or someone else at lunch. What are you going to do? And what games are good for that. And finally, a monthly schedule now, this will be produced. The Dice Steeple number 2 will be released this week, in which we talk about Christianity and magic in games. Well, that's about it for this time, folks. I hope you enjoy watching these videos and listening to the podcast. If you'd like to support the Dice Tower, you can get custom dice and a Dice Tower and cards for Panic Station and Revolver and Lost Temple, all donated but from Stronghold Games. Or you can get promo cards for Summoner Wars, or you can get promo cards for Eminent Domain from Tasty Minstrel Games. So, either way, I hope you have a fantastic week. I'll see you soon.
Find all this and more at Dicetower.com. See you soon.